Well, howdy folks. Coming from the new corner, thought this would be a good corner to, since I now have an iPhone, I can now do videos, not be so close to the computer monitor and you see me pillar boxed. Well, thought I'd just come over here to the partially the DVD shelf in this little corner, set my chair up, and because today it's time for a Blu Ray update. I've realized that it's been 2 months since I last had an update, and I thought I did one last month, but apparently I didn't. So we're going to go take a look at what's in the pile. There's quite a few titles here, so let's roll the intro. We'll get right into her. Okay, first off, we're going to start off with a Blu-ray that I picked up in the Walmart bin for $7.88, and this is the movie that actually inspired the movie 300, in terms of, not in terms of the graphic novel of 300, but this inspired the graphic novel. 300 Spartans. And this, of course, is the film released by 20th Century Fox from back in, let's see, when was it? 1962. So yeah, 300 Spartans, kind of where it all started. And this is, Fox. This was Fox during their heydays of CinemaScope. So this movie is presented in the full CinemaScope presentation. Next up, there is a few criterions in this update. First one is the recently released All That Jazz, directed by Bob Fosse and starring Roy Scheider. And basically, it's kind of a highlight of Bob Fosse's life, loosely based and about his heart attack and so forth. And, it's an all-new transfer, 4K transfer. One of the few occasions that Criterion will use DTS sound mix on an older movie. It uses 3.0 DTS. Quite frankly, I don't know how they do that all the time, because, well, 3.0 is probably what the original sound mix was, but usually Criterion with an older film, they release it in a uncompressed uncompressed track where it's not processed through Dolby or DTS. So but this is a rare occasion where the film was processed through DTS. I assume because the film was probably released in stereo. I don't think it was. It may not been Dolby. There's a good chance it could have been, because it was 1979 when this film was released, and Dolby really hit big in the theaters in 1977. Actually, the early 1970s, and then 77 is where the stereo became big, with of course Star Wars releasing that. So yeah, All That Jazz. Next up, I may get some frowns for owning this, but I don't care. I would prefer this movie as compared to the new one that's coming out, and that is Annie. Annie on Blu-ray, the 30th anniversary sing-along edition. This is a movie that's timeless in itself. You know, well, I shouldn't say it's timeless. There's things in it that date because it's, you know, it takes place in the 1930s, so it shouldn't date all that bad. And it, what I've seen of it, it doesn't date badly at all. The only thing is that would be a tough sell to today's audience is the fact that it's a musical. And if you do a musical today, you have to do something like Glee or High School Musical. You have to do it with contemporary music. Well, Annie is kind of a classical. Well, it's more of a classical musical. Even though it was probably contemporary for the time, but I'm talking about its big spectacle, and there's huge dance numbers and sequences, and of course this is the original film starring Aileen Quinn as Annie, what's his name, Albert Finney as Daddy Warbucks, Carol Burnett as Miss Hannigan, Bernadette Peters and Tim Curry as the kidnappers, and yeah, I think that's about it. Or Anne Reinking as Mr. Warbucks' assistant. But yeah, Annie, the original. As a matter of fact, I've seen the trailer a number of times for the new Annie coming out with. It has the girl from Beast of the Southern Wild and Jamie Foxx. I just looked at the trailer for this, but each time I've seen this trailer, I just go, why? Why? I don't know. Next up, adding to the Die Hard collection with Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance. I got this at FYE. I also got Annie at FYE. So, yeah, this is Die Hard with a Vengeance. This is the third film. And, of course, it's DVD, Blu Ray combo pack. Next, from Walmart. I had to go to the Walmart in Muncie in order to get this. The Walmart in Marion did not have it. They had the DVD edition, but they did not have the Blu-ray edition of Duck Dynasty Season 6. Yeah. Yeah, I watched this show. I'll admit, because I am a Christian, I watch, Phil Robertson is the type of guy who says what he thinks. And I don't think he really means to offend anybody, but here's the thing. He said what he did, and that's, they wanted to make it a big controversial thing, but really he did speak the truth about homosexuality. I'm sorry you feel that way, but he spoke the truth. But yeah, this is season 6. This is let's see. I had the rest of the seasons, and I think it was season 4. Season 4 where that controversy erupted, and this is now season 6. The ratings have gone down since the original airing. I think the show is on its way out, because this day and age, it's hard to keep a television show on the air, but still the highest rated cable, one of the highest rated cable shows on television right now, and it's still an enjoyable family friendly show. I mean, yeah, and of course I'm not always able to watch the show on a regular basis. So, with me working all the time, so I'm able to watch, thankfully they put out these Blu-rays and DVDs of the show so I can watch it whenever I want to. Next up, I'm really proud to have this one in my collection, and I was really surprised on how cheap this was. When it first came out, it was retailing around $35, and so far it's Walmart had it for $15, so not too shabby. What am I talking about? Ghostbusters 1 and 2, the nice digibook edition, where both films are completely restored in 4K. Yes, I know the original Ghostbusters came out, I think in 2010, 2011 on Blu Ray. Well, since then they have done a new transfer of the original film elements and remastered the film in 4K. As well as Ghostbusters 2. And of course it has this nice digibook, you know, has pictures. I don't think you can see that really well, but it has pictures, has some storyboard, behind the scenes photos, some production, actually some just pure photos from the film, and you know, the whole story and all that. There's even a letter here, I kind of stuck it in here, from Ivan Reitman himself. So he talks about the film, actually both films. And it comes on 2 separate discs, Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters 2. Even though they did manage this time around to put some bonus features on Ghostbusters 2, it's still kind of, I don't want to say it's not as well expected as I liked it to be. Probably because they know Ghostbusters 2, there's people that like it, but it's not the best one, and that's typical of a sequel. Even Ivan Reitman says that. He said hardly a sequel is ever comparable to the first film. It's very rare that you get a film in its sequel where it's actually better than the original, aka The Dark Knight is better than Batman Begins. So, but yeah, they talk about that, and there's a whole roundtable, this interview. I can't tell you who the guy is that does the interview, but there's a host, and it's between Ivan Reitman and Dan Aykroyd. Unfortunately, Harold Ramis is passed on, and they weren't able to get some of the other casts like Sigourney Weaver or Bill Murray. So they split it up into 2 parts. They have Ghostbusters 1 where they talk exclusively about Ghostbusters 1, and then they have part 2 where they talk about Ghostbusters 2 and some of the they also talk about, in that section, they also talk about the cartoon series and the merchandise. And what's really interesting is that the merchandising for this film, it was pretty high right now. There was a lot of merchandise, but it didn't come out in time for the film, for the first film, and it wasn't until Ghostbusters 2 that they were able to make those merchandise and t-shirts, toys, things like that. And it was really also because of the cartoon, The Real Ghostbusters, that came out. So Ghostbusters, the 30th anniversary edition, which has Ghostbusters 1 and 2. I would be careful if you're going to look for this. I would look for this one at Walmart. This is the cheapest you're ever going to see this. Because if you go to FYE or anything like that, you will see this retail at probably $35. And also, each individual films are about $20 a piece separately, because they are available in separate packaging. Next up, from the 788 Walmart dump bin, as some people like to call it, I had never seen this movie, but a friend I work with, he kind of told me about it, and it's kind of a white trash movie, but it's kind of enjoyable. The Legend of Billie Jean, originally released by TriStar Pictures and is now on Mill Creek Home Entertainment. TriStar, of course, is a Sony company, so Sony sold a lot of films to Mill Creek, to kind of lighten their catalog, so to speak. Now the next one is probably the worst movie I've ever seen, but I did kind of laugh and chuckle at it. And this was given, when was it? When was this made? I'm trying to see here. Sorry, there's a light and it's kind of blinding me. So when I go to read something, I can't see it. 2013, okay. 2013, this won the Golden Razzie Award. Of course, the Golden Razzies is the exact opposite of what the Oscars is. It's where they nominate the worst movies of all time, worst movies of the year, and it's movie 43. I bought a used copy, and I ended up chucking the DVD. I gave it to a friend for him to watch, because he didn't believe me. This movie is just, oh man, it is so bad, it's so stupid that it is funny. Of course, all the movies, of course, it's an anthology movie, has all these different actors and it has all these different directors. It's broken up into several segments, and each one has kind of a occurring theme, is that it's over the top dirty jokes. I mean, that's all this movie is. It's one big dirty joke. I mean, next up, since the passing of Robin Williams, a lot of people have been picking up a lot of his movies, his more well-known movies. This is one I'd actually been looking for before he passed away. It was kind of difficult to find, and it's one of his more dramatic movies, and it's Dead Poets Society on Blu Ray. This film, I know is available. If you have the Disney Movie Rewards, I think it's available on there. But I saw on that where the popularity automatically skyrocketed because of Robin Williams. But I ended up getting this at Barnes & Noble for a decent price. And not to spoil the film, but this is basically to tell the synopsis if you don't know what this is about. The movie is about a group of these kids. They're in an academy, private school, boys' school, and their teacher is Robin Williams. He teaches them kind of unorthodox English, and he teaches them to love poetry and love reading, and he makes the class fun, and it basically makes the academy, they hate him because he doesn't want to follow the core tradition in teaching very civilized classic education, while these boys are learning, they're getting their education using unorthodox methods, where he basically is getting them excited. He's getting them pumped up, and just brings up that he was once a student like them, and he belonged to an organization called the Dead Poets Society, which was nothing but about poetry, and it was privately, and that they would make their own poems and things like that. And it's a really good, inspiring film. Of course, the last scene at the end, I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. Most of you probably have seen it, but the ending of the movie is just truly inspiring. What happens, because spoiler alert, the teacher eventually gets fired, but the boys do a little something to give a little bit of hope to this teacher. Next up is a pure upgrade, and it's a classic movie from the 80s, Short Circuit. Not the best transfer, I'd say, but because it comes from Image Entertainment, who has the rights to the film. I believe they also just recently acquired the rights, I'm saying recently, like within a few years, the rights to Short Circuit 2. So, Short Circuit, the original. Really did enjoy this movie as a kid. It's just, hey, Laser Lips, your mama was a snowblower. Next up, I also upgraded my copy of John Carpenter's Starman, starring Jeff Bridges and Karen Allen. This one, I don't know if people really remember. It's I think it's kind of been forgotten about. And basically, it was John Carpenter's E.T., basically. It's about a man who has died, and there's an alien. There's an alien that finds the Voyager 7 probe, and then tunes into it. He eventually finds his way to Earth, and he takes the form of Jeff Bridges, whose character is dead, but he finds the alien comes in the form of this, like, I don't know what you call it, this orb-like thing, and scrolls through a photograph, and there's a lock of his hair from when he was a baby, and it goes in and clones him, and it comes out looking like exactly like Jeff Bridges. And the whole point is that he's trying to get home to his mothership by the end of the film, and it's Karen Allen who plays the widow. She eventually falls in love with him because it is in the likeness of her dead husband, and so forth. She eventually helps him get back home. And of course, just like in E.T., there's the government's after them. They want to investigate. So yeah, it's Starman. This is a little bit of, I mentioned E.T., but this was the movie that pushed E.T. out of being released from Columbia Pictures, actually. Because if you watch Close Encounters, some of the behind-the-scenes footage that Spielberg talks about, originally he took E.T. to Columbia Pictures. And, Columbia didn't want to make it, because this film they had greenlit, which was very, very similar. So, there you go. Got a couple TV shows. Picked up The Wonder Years, Season 1 on DVD. Being released through Star Vista, aka Time Life. And there is some... there's a behind-the-scenes interview of the cast. Now 20-something years later, and of course, one of the big things about reason why the show is taking so long to come to DVD is because of music rights. And if you grew up watching the show, you might remember there was a lot of music from the 60s and 70s on this show. And so what Time Life has managed to do for the Season 1 on DVD is manage to secure the rights to all those songs and make sure they're preserved intact as they were on the show, because the theme song to the show was With a Little Help from My Friends by Joe Cocker. So and also you have to go into the Beatles because that was originally a Beatles song, and so there's a whole lot of legal reasons why this show hasn't come out on DVD until now. So yeah, The Wonder Years. The next TV show is Season 3, A Person of Interest. Currently my favorite network TV show. I just love this show. I haven't been able to watch Season 4 yet because I've been so busy. Busy at work. And so I think, this is probably one of the best shows on television right now. It keeps you hooked at the edge of your seat. It has a wonderful cast, wonderful story, and just a really good show. Okay, now back to the movies. Yes, I had to complete it. Transformers: Age of Extinction. Hopefully a lot of you people saw my review of the film. I didn't think it was entirely throwaway, but I was not really impressed. I thought it was slightly better than Part 3, but not by much. What's really cool about this Blu-ray, that this Blu-ray itself is kind of an innovation in home audio. It's the first Blu-ray release to feature the new Dolby Atmos surround sound track. So Atmos is now in the theaters, but now they're trying to bring it home. And of course, if you have the money to plunk down on several $1,000 system, that you can afford to listen to this and have the Transformers transform all the way around you. Now the next two I just got yesterday. From the Criterion Collection, we got My Darling Clementine. I really enjoy this story. Where am I? You're saying, why am I getting this because of My Darling Clementine? Well, this is a story based on Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, and Ike Clanton, and the gunfight at the OK Corral. So, I really do like this story, and of course, it's been adapted to film several times. This was not. I thought this was actually the first time it was adapted, but it was actually like several films. There's several films made on the same story, and one of the things they talk about on this Blu-ray is that it was not exactly true. None of the movies told about Wyatt Earp were exactly true. There was, because of the books. They're all based on books that Wyatt Earp himself supervised and wrote. And Wyatt Earp liked to embellish a little bit and brag about himself a little bit. So, but yeah, of course, this being one of the more famous ones, My Darling Clementine, and there's Gunfight at the OK Corral, and then Tombstone, and then Wyatt Earp. Of course, based on the same story about Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday. Next up is a movie I used to watch as a kid. It's not that great of a movie, but I thought, what the heck, for nostalgia purposes. Even back in the 1990s, 1996, when this film came out, it was kind of looked upon as something stupid. Space Jam. Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny. Actually, Michael Jordan and the Looney Tunes. Yeah, this is just what was going on in the 90s. This is just perfect what was going on at the perfect depiction of what was going on in the 90s, where you take somebody who was a pop culture icon, and Michael Jordan, who's not an actor, he's a basketball player, he's an athlete, or let's just say that. He's an athlete, put him in a film using Bugs Bunny, and the whole thing was started on Nike commercials. And that's how the whole project started. And they thought, well, what if we made a feature-length film where we had Bugs Bunny and Michael Jordan, and what would it be? And this is what they came out with. And of course, it features, the only reason why they were able to do this because of the state-of-the-art in digital technology, CGI at the time. Now the last two, I promise, are Despicable Me and Despicable Me 2. Yeah, I figure I better get these movies and put them in. Yeah, you know, just a fun movie about, you know, this guy who's a villain and then turns out good to raise these kids. And of course, the Minions are the kind of the big comedy relief of these movies. So there's the haul. Don't know what the next thing's gonna be. Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe I'll do a review or something like that. Maybe throw that up. But haven't been able to do much. But so there you go. There's the Blu Ray DVD haul. I guess you can say. Yeah. There's never mind. There's Blu Rays and DVDs in there. So from me to you. See you later.